Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, which one was that?
I'm sorry, but the princess is in another castle.
Is that Zelda?
What?
Is that Zelda?
I'm pretty sure that was Mario when you get to the castle.
See, I don't know.
And it says, sorry, your princess, right before it says, sorry, your princess is in another castle.
See, I don't know, because I'm not one of them video game guys.
And I wanted to talk about this. This is a good way to start out the show.
Okay.
So, video games.
By the way, welcome to Toker Talk Radio. Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ.
Brian the Red, Radical Russ, 420radio.org, live every weekday here at 4 p.m. Pacific for your entertainment. So, video games.
Video games.
What about the children?
What about them?
What about the children? I grew up with video games. I grew up with other games. And I was thinking today on my bus ride over, as I saw some teenage hooligans, what kind of games they might play. And I'm thinking they probably play like Halo on Xbox or some kind of shoot 'em up, team venture, Grand Theft Auto, rape and kill a hooker, all in a day's work kind of thing. Games that, my generation got near the end of, my interest in gaming. But,
sure.
And that was never really my kind of game anyway. I liked more mental games, things that got you thinking, strategy, puzzles. You got to unlock things. It takes a while. And then I was thinking back to the other games that we used to play, like in elementary school and, young school. Foursquare. I loved Foursquare.
Yeah.
Kickball. Yeah, good stuff. Team sports, things that involved people, things that got people working together. King of the mountain. Or king of the hill, whatever, It's, you get up somebody on a hill and knock everybody else down. Just, it's fun stuff. You get involved. What was the other one? But anyway, I'm just saying that they're saying that cannabis is such a bad thing for these kids. Are you parents looking at what your kids are doing?
Have you seen Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, especially Grand Theft Auto 5, it's like, I heard somebody comment the other day, it's like their like 13-year-old brother got a Grand Theft Auto thing and they're playing it in the living room while the older person is reading, and it's like looks up, and then yells to the other room, "Mom, Bradley just killed and raped a hooker." Raped and killed, not necessarily in that order, but you know what I mean. And the mom's just like, "Oh, whatever." It's in the game. It's not going to hurt anything, but it is. It's putting the idea in people's minds that life you can just go through and do whatever you want, and nothing's going to hurt you, and you can be invincible, and you just. But Cool Craig says this to his kid though. There's only one life. There's no reset button. There's no.
Right. No doubt.
But so I'm just saying, maybe encourage your kids to play some of those older, better games.
And the other thing too, you started talking about playgrounds and King of the Hill and all that stuff. I remember when I was in second grade, and this was 1973, 4, something like that. I went to Roosevelt School in Nampa, Idaho, and its playground, the back was this whole back lot is on a city block, right? Fenced back lot on a city block, and the whole playground was this little round pea-sized gravel.
Oh, yeah.
There was no grass. It was all this round pea-sized gravel. And then we used to play this game called Crack the Whip. Did you ever play Crack the Whip? Bunch of kids link arms, right? And the kid in the front starts running around in like this weird zigzag pattern, and all the rest of the kids swing around like a big snake.
Yeah, and usually the one at the end gets whipped off.
Yeah, it gets whipped off at
or the person who has the least grip gets whipped off.
Goes flying at 15 feet into this pea-shaped gravel.
So you don't get really hurt. It's just kind of rough, and it's fun.
And then we used to play the Red Rover.
That's the other game I was just going to bring up. Red Rover, send blah 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 right over, and
now
track.
And now they're talking about like outlawing, tag and intramurals and sports and stuff for these kids because of all the lawsuits and all. It's like, oh my God, no wonder these kids are playing video games because they're not allowed to do anything exciting anymore.
It's like, you really have to bubble wrap the world? No, you don't. We grew up with scratches and cuts and bruises and broken things.
Back when I was a kid, by God, we didn't play Halo. We had Bottle Rocket Wars.
That's another issue. Well, we had lawn darts.
Oh, no. I don't even think you can buy a lawn dart anymore.
No, they're illegal in like almost every state. I don't know, maybe Alabama.
Maybe Alabama. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about our forthcoming contest tomorrow, our Fan Friday Trivia. We'll tell you how you can compete to win a vintage copy of High Times. Yeah. We're going to do this. I think I got at least 52 issues over there. So we'll do this every week for 2014 until I run out. That's what we're going to do. So we'll do that. And also on the show, we'll have video coming up in the second half hour. We've got video of Dr. Carl Hart versus Dr. Drew Pinsky. Dr. Drew. Yeah. And Carl Hart, he's one of our favorites. So we're going to take a break and get a little mellow with the FNAs.
Red light, green light. That was the game I was trying to think about.
Red light, green light.
Nobody got hurt.
Stick around. It's Toker Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out lushledlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting. .420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally. I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio. Welcome back, everyone. 11 after 4 here in the Pacific time zone. That's Gypsy Hawk with The Fields. That's some Herb Thrasher Flower Hour music you can hear every Friday at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. We've got our Rockin' Friday Daily Toker Tunes. And then Friday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Live, we've got the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour with me and Herb Thrasher bringing you the breast?
Well, sometimes
maybe. I don't know.
There was this one video that was
one video
a couple weeks ago. Yeah, kind of,
but yeah, we'll be the best of metal and rock and punk and jam band and hellbilly and bluegrass.
And if it's fast and it's guitar, he'll play it.
That's right. Fast guitars, that's what we're all about. We are starting a new segment here on 420 Radio tomorrow for our 20 after break, and it's going to be called Fan Friday Trivia. And the way this is going to work is that every Friday at our 420 break, I am going to give y'all a trivia question. A marijuana or policy or activism or advocacy or science or culture trivia question. And it may require a little research because I know a lot.
we should make this a little harder. We should discuss between ourselves and then Google to see if it's something easy to find. And then we'll throw it out if it is easy to find.
That's part of what we're going to do. So starting tomorrow, we will have a trivia question at 4:20 Pacific, which is just about 8 minutes from now, wherever you're listening to us. It's 8 minutes from now if you're listening to us live. And we will do this trivia question at 20 after. And to win, all you got to do is send an email to russ@radicalruss.com, or you can use our 420 Radio contact page if you want to do it that way, and just answer the trivia question. And out of all the correct answers I get over the weekend, on Monday I will randomly pick one, and that will be our winner for the week. And we're doing it. We're not going to do it with Twitter. Some people say, Brian was suggesting Twitter, which I'd thought about as well, but I found when I try the Twitter contest, it's not really fair because those of you listening live can get in faster than the ones who listen on podcast or listen on replay. So I figure if I do it in Toker Talk Radio on Friday, there's the 4 o'clock, there's a 7 o'clock replay, and then there's the VIPs that are listening on podcast or the people going to the web that are listening to it there. That gives them the whole weekend to study. And then on Monday, we'll announce the winner. And the winner, of course, is going to be winning a vintage copy of High Times Magazine.
Ooh la la.
Like this one. I'll get my camera on here. This is the August 1980 issue. Cost $2.50. And we got Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin. Will success spoil Cheech and Chong? Of course. Right.
This is before all of the drama.
Yeah, this is before their drama. This is just after their first movie, but before like their second.
You mean the one called The First Movie? Or their, Cheech and Chong's first movie?
That's right. That's right. So we've got all sorts of interesting things here.
Chong.
And this is we've got a new editor and publisher here, Gabrielle Shang, who became the editor and publisher there in the 80s. And
I love how it shows her picture, the same picture, but they flipped it to make it look like, oh, it's somebody else.
Yeah, that's great. But
or maybe they're twins.
Love the ads. You see some of the ads in here in these old
oh man, that's cool.
The Chemist alkaloid system.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of interesting from 1980. But we'll have these High Times magazines, and we've got enough of them between 1975 and 1981 that we can give away one every week for the rest of the year, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying there's like shiny writing on that page. That was weird.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is also the older High Times where you had in the middle, it was pulp paper. It was like
it wasn't glossy. It wasn't color.
It wasn't glossy all the way through.
Couldn't afford to have color all the way through back then.
But here's some things that from the 1980s that haven't changed today. There's a drug dog in a high school going through lockers in 1980. So yeah, we will be giving you some of these High Times magazines that we randomly select. And I got a few of the good ones. I got the Debbie Harry cover. I got the Johnny Rotten cover. I've got the Mick Jagger cover. I, of course, have the Hunter S. Thompson cover that I'm not giving
Nobody's ever going to get.
This one's mine. But I wanted to read a few things from Hunter from this interview. Just the cover blurbs in here. Because again, before we do that though, the back cover ad. We love this one. Take off to another world. And then the big haired 80s Futurella, Barbarella, sci-fi cutout panel, hot suit, whatever you want to call it, right? Big blonde alien
bikini kind of thing,
girl, right, with a spaceship behind her. And then what it is it's an advertisement for Hustler X-rated rolling papers.
Because of course, High Times was only on shelves behind counters with porno mags.
Yeah, it's amazing. But let me get to. Here's some good stuff. Remember Power Hitters?
Yeah. There you go.
There go Power Hitters there that we put the joint on one end and use it to just suck up the...
It's kind of like a gravity bong without water.
There you go. Gravity bong without water. Killer hash. Got an ad there, but let me get to the... there's some nice...
the old bamboo work.
Old school brass bong, I think.
Brass.
Is that brass? But let me get to the... where's it at there? Come on, Hunter.
£1 million pop bust.
Yeah, here we go. So this is the interview with Hunter Thompson. It's from the September 77 issue of High Times. And some great stuff he had to say. This was an interview by Ron Rosenbaum. And here's some of the cutout, the highlighted paragraphs from Hunter. Quote, Carter, that'd be President Carter, right?
Jimmy.
Carter would put me in jail in an instant if he saw me snorting coke in front of him. He would not, however, follow me into the bathroom and try to catch me snorting. Okay. Here's another quote from Hunter. We don't want to cause a national panic by saying that a gang of closet coke freaks are running the country, although that would probably be the case no matter who won the election.
Oh. And I think that stands for most elections, but no.
They tried to bar me from the White House during the impeachment thing. In order to get into the White House, I had to promise not to call anybody a Nazi cocksucker. Which I wonder, did Hunter mean a Nazi who sucks cock or one who sucks the cock of Nazis? We don't know.
Something to think about, though.
Yeah. Here's another quote. I just whacked the needle into my leg without thinking. In the corner of my eye, I saw a lot of red. And I like the ad on the bottom of this one. This is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
The Get Into Dealing game, little board game that was for sale.
There were lots of games that, were drug-based. It was real fun stuff.
That's good stuff. Let's see here. What else do I got? I got to pay attention to Libramator here before she goes crazy on me and does something whack. Okay.
Don't do that.
What else we got from Hunter here? This again, September 1977, Hunter S. Thompson in High Times. Quote, here was a flashlight glaring right in my face, and right beside the flashlight, a big, dirty 57 Magnum was pointed at me. They didn't give a fuck about my license. Oh, Hunter. Here's another. If you act as weird as you are, something terrible is bound to happen to you. I seem to be alone, for instance, in considering Joseph Conrad one of history's great humorists. Okay. And the final one here. I just began to tear the pages out of my notebooks. I was full of grief and shame. I thought this was the end, the worst hole I'd ever gotten into. Yeah. Hunter S. Thompson, of course, legendary. And the articles, here's a normal ad at the bottom here with the handcuffs on it. And let me read you the script of this normal ad from 1977. Marijuana. It's almost legal, isn't it? Oh, see? I told you Libramator was going to do something weird on me.
Bullshitting on you, yeah.
Yeah, there she goes.
Damn you, Libra. I thought we told you.
But anyway, no, nothing is ever almost legal, especially marijuana. Last year alone, 420,000 people were arrested for simple marijuana offenses. Of those, 90% were for possession. But now a growing number of Americans are thinking seriously about changing the present marijuana laws. In fact, some laws have already been changed. The state of Oregon has successfully decriminalized the personal use of marijuana. The American Bar Association, National Council on Churches, Consumers Union, and National Education Association have urged other states to do the same. An inevitable chain of events has become part of that change. Help us help you.
That's awesome, because it was just right after we got decrim here.
Yeah, 77, about 4 years in, yeah. There's 2 or 3 more states that have done it by 77 as well. But hey, it's 420, so we've got to take a break because, union rules. When we come back, we'll have more.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the best way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, home of the famous lighter leash. Herb Age Designs, get your Herb Age t-shirts and hoodies and show your pride. Herb Age Designs, we've got frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. We'll see you at this year's Hemp Fest. Crank it up! Did you miss your favorite 420radio.org show during its regular airtime? Don't worry, you can catch the replay this weekend on 420radio.org. Visit our schedule page for more information. Welcome back, everybody. 23 after the hour here at Toker Talk Radio. And before I forget, tune in tonight to Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink. We got more funk, soul, R&B disco for you. This episode tonight is going to be a special dedication remembrance to our good friend Stereotype, a.k.a. Chris Hanley, who passed away a couple days ago. He suggested this natural funk show that we're going to play. And so Big Daddy put together a show that was based off of Rio's suggestions. And that will be our show for tonight. So Season 3, Episode 5, Natural Funk, will be on tonight at 8 p.m. Also, don't forget we got replays coming up at 6 and 7 of these 2 hours here. And at 5 o'clock, our next show coming up at the top of the hour, Jorge Cervantes TV. And we got some new videos in from January 6th, it looks like. So looking forward to some new stuff from Jorge Cervantes. So check that out at 5 o'clock. You can get our complete schedule up at 420radio.org. Just look in the control panel for the schedule button or go directly to 420radio.org/schedule. All right, coming back here into the marijuana world. And we were looking at some of the news, and in the Toker Talk radio bin for the news today, a very interesting story here that we didn't have time to get to in our regular news today. And, you know, there was... oh, I'm sorry. Wrong story. I got to go to the other page. But it was the governor of Maryland. We did cover it briefly in the news, but I wanted to talk just a little bit more about this guy. His name's Martin O'Malley, and they just opened their legislative session in Maryland. And Martin O'Malley, when asked about legalizing marijuana for recreational use, said, quote, "It could be a gateway to even more harmful substances. I'm not much in favor of it. And this was during the Annapolis Summit radio show broadcast. He continued by saying, I've seen what drug addiction has done to the people of our state and the people of our city. And of course, O'Malley was a tough on crime mayor of Baltimore, where, there's lots of drug activity, before moving on up to the governor's mansion. The Senate President, Thomas V. Mike Miller Jr., said in an interview with the Washington Post last week that he thinks support for the concept will continue to grow, but that it is unlikely that a bill will pass this year. Miller did say, quote, it's eventually going to happen. The House Speaker, his named Michael Bush, appeared with Miller on the show and voiced reservations about allowing recreational marijuana, but said he is open to legislation that would impose only civil fines and drug treatment on people caught with small amounts as an alternative to incarceration. He said, quote, I think there's a good argument for that, or at least a viable argument for that. Now, last year in Maryland, the Senate passed a bill that would have decriminalized marijuana. It would have given it a civil fine of $100, but it died in the House. And the spokesperson for the governor said that would not say whether the governor would support decrim, but did say he would look at any bill that the legislature puts forward. This is so troubling too, because you got Maryland out there with its medical marijuana program, and the state law there in Maryland doesn't even make the list of medical marijuana states. Many people don't even know that there is a Maryland kind of program, but what it is it just authorizes research at university hospitals. And so far, none of these universities have done any research on this stuff because, they can't get the funding for it, and they risk, pissing off the federal government if they've got any other research that's getting federal grants at those kind of universities. So, MPP, normal, nobody puts Maryland on the medical marijuana list. And yet Maryland is right there amongst all these states in the Northeast that have overwhelming support for medical marijuana, that have some sort of medical marijuana law. As restrictive as they are on the East Coast, they have some sort of medical marijuana law. It's sad to read this governor and to hear him, being in such opposition to this, but it's not surprising. This is what we find in state house after state house, is this disconnect between the popular public support for reform of marijuana laws and any action on that in our legislatures. And I try to look at this cynically, try to be politically mature about this. And when I hear these guys, they say things like, gateway drug could be a gateway to more harmful behavior. I really have to question if they really believe that, or if that's just their soundbite, if that's just rote, if that's just something that they've been saying for so long, they don't even question it. It's so hard for me to believe anymore that these opponents to legalization have anything but ulterior motives involved. It's hard for me to listen to a Martin O'Malley who, by all accounts, would seem to be a reasonably intelligent man. It's hard for me to read this anymore and not think that there's payback for law enforcement, that there's payback for pharmaceutical companies or campaign donors or something that's causing these politicians to be in such disconnect with the people. And I think part of that may be the fact that in this country, corporations are people and money is speech. And if 84% of the people in Maryland are in support of decrim like the rest of the country are, but 84% of the corporate people aren't, if we're talking about now Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, Maryland is the home to the corporate headquarters, or is that Delaware? No, it's Delaware, excuse me. But Maryland's got a lot of hospital industry, if I'm not mistaken. And we know how they feel about the medicalization of marijuana. What? People could grow their own plants and not have to come to us? No, we can't have that. So this leads me to believe that most of what remains in political opposition it has to be has to be some sort of ulterior motive. Because one thing we know about politicians is they're in it for themselves. They're not leaders. Very few politicians are leaders. They're followers. They want to do whatever it takes to get elected. They want their job. They want to have a job the next year. And if you're in the House, that's every 2 years. Most of the time of a member of Congress in the House of Representatives is spent raising money for the next election cycle. They barely get in after they've won their election. They're barely seated and casting votes before they have to be on the phone raising money and kowtowing to donors to get the money for the next election cycle. That leads me to believe then that must be what is keeping marijuana from getting better discussion in the House, because it can't be their fear of losing an election. Sylvester Ray's Beto O'Rourke, that El Paso district, where an 8-term U.S. congressman lost his gig to Beto O'Rourke, a city councilman who ran a very pro-pot platform. And this was a Democratic primary. This is Sylvester Reyes, a Democratic representative from the district that's around El Paso, Texas, who actually ran campaign ads calling out O'Rourke as a pothead, basically, and lost. He was considered a slam dunk. The DNC people were ready for him to, take a seat again, and he lost. And we're seeing that happen more and more across the country. And there's a phenomenon now. I call it the 7th grade dance phenomenon, the junior high dance phenomenon. You remember junior high dances, right? All the boys are, all pimply and horny, and the girls are all lanky and kind of awkward, and they want to meet each other. They want to dance. They want to hold hands, but they're just afraid.
And they're all on the different sides of the room.
Yeah. But then that one couple gets out there on the dance floor, and whoosh, the whole place fills up. That's what's happening now. Washington and Colorado are the first couple on the junior high dance floor.
They came from apart, and they met. No,
that's right. They're the first couple on the junior high dance floor, and now the rest.
Look at them.
The rest of the kids at the junior high dance, the Delawares, the Oregons, the Alaskas, and the Massachusetts, and so forth, are looking at those lines of people standing out in the snow, waiting to give their tax money to the state instead of to help their dealer buy a new Xbox. And they're slobbering at the possibility of getting that money. And now they're tied kind of in knots. It's like, well, how do they come out now in favor of it when for so long they were saying it was the evil demon drug that was going to destroy society?
Yeah, well, they're like, no. Oh, money? Oh, sure. Hey, money. Come on.
Money.
What do you think? They're politicians.
So when I get a guy like Martin O'Malley here saying it's a gateway, when 50% of the American people now don't believe it's a gateway drug at all, you can only think that's going to get worse for guys like that. And they're going to continue to be marginalized and laughed at, even amongst their own political class. Yeah. That's what the power of the marijuana industry is going to do, because so far it hasn't been the public support. If it was about the public support, if it was about the people, if it was about politicians saying, hey, let me latch on to an issue that has 88% public support, well, then they'd all be publishing decrim bills right now. No, it's about the money. It's about the corporate support. It's about what the business tycoons think. And we know they all like money. That's what's going to get this changed. And that's why it's so exciting to see this first week of sales out there in Denver.
Indeed.
Well, 1:30, 33 past, actually. We're going to take us another break. Our union is very demanding. Local 420. When we come back, we got Dr. Carl Hart versus Dr. Drew Pinsky. Oh, I can't wait for this.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Let him bring in the beat. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let him bring in the beat.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally.
Tokers, there's no good reason to get your dog stoned. While it might not harm them physically, imagine being a dog who already begs for treats all day, and then imagine that dog having the munchies.
When people
Not
talk about
cool.
this as a gateway drug.
Don't fall in love with no hoe. She'll leave you for broke and smoke all your dough. Don't fall in love with no hoe. She'll take all your dough and smoke all your drove. No, 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 no. Don't fall in love with no, really don't wanna low. Take my advice, I've been through it, no joke. Got them bitches digging for riches. Like Spice One, man, I'll put them in ditches. Now don't get me wrong, play. Don't fall in love, no way. All she's good is for a lady. 1, 2, 3, 4. In and out, right quick out the door. Shut the fuck up, put your clothes on, say no more. Do I look like Captain Save-A-Ho you for? Don't fall in love with no hoe. She'll take all your dough and smoke all your dough.
Welcome back. That's Los Marihuanos with Don't Fall in Love with No Hoe.
Oh,
Say it like you mean
Boy's
it.
hilarious. It's a funny guy.
Well, as I promised, we've got some video here from, this is CNN's Anderson Cooper 360, where he is having a discussion with doctors. It's Doctors Discuss Whether or Not Marijuana is Addictive, is the title of this one. As soon as I can get Ponyboy to be quiet. What's up with that? But anyway, we've got Anderson Cooper 360 with Dr. Carl Hart from Columbia University. He's the author of High Price, which debunks a whole lot of what people think about drugs and drug users. And then Dr. Drew Pinsky, who makes a living by treating them. So let's see, we got the video up. Yep, we got it. So here we go. Let's take a listen.
We have to understand what gateway means. So if people are saying that the majority of people who use cocaine and use heroin have used marijuana, that's right. That's absolutely right. But the vast majority of the people who use marijuana don't go on to those other drugs.
So you're saying that it's not that the pot necessarily leads to these things, it's just that's what they were first able to get their hands on. And
if you want to know what a gateway drug is, tobacco and alcohol. Those are our gateway drugs. I am really disturbed by the whole idea that whether or not something is addictive is a criteria for it being illegal. That whole logic is very flawed to me. If that's the case, for sure alcohol's got to be illegal, tobacco's got to be illegal, but pills got to be illegal. Your beloved Ambien, Anderson's got to be illegal.
My beloved Ambien. But it's very easy to demonize marijuana. It has been for so long. I mean, and I think these studies are changing because more people have done it and started to see what it's like in their own life.
It's a moralizing attitude that people have about the human relationship with
substances. So when people
substances.
ask you, is it addictive? Do you believe it's addictive?
I don't believe or not believe. I've been struggling with it for my patients with it for 25 years. I've treated 10,000 addicts in my career, and probably 5 to 10% of them had marijuana addiction. And for some, that's not a big number, and it's not, as you say, it's very uncommon. They said 1 out of 11. It's nowhere near that. I'd
Dr.
say.
Hart, do you believe it's addictive?
Yeah, that's about 9%. It's absolutely addictive, but that's not saying much. Alcohol is addictive. Tobacco is addictive. All of these things are potentially addictive. The most important thing here is that the vast majority of people who smoke marijuana, 90% do not get addicted. Yeah. The vast majority of people who even use heroin don't get addicted.
And you said the statistic that the person interviewed quoted about the high THC levels, you said that's factually incorrect.
That's factually incorrect. He said that the average THC concentration in cigarettes is 30%. The average is about 5 to 6%. So that's just hyperbole. And that's what we get in this discussion oftentimes is hyperbole.
Very, very well done by Dr. Carl Hart there. I got nothing to add. That was perfect. But I do want to get to this video because they've got a video, talking about the use of medical marijuana and the high CBD oil. So let's take a look at this one. If it'll come up here for me. My video will appear momentarily. You gonna give me an ad?
Go Landon, go Landon.
Back in September of 2012, 3-year-old Landon Riddle developed a sore throat and swollen lymph nodes one night. It was likely just a virus, his doctors thought, but the reality ended up being much worse. Acute lymphocytic leukemia, or ALL. It's a cancer of the blood and bone marrow. It's one of the most common cancers in children. It's also one of the most treatable. But the therapy was going to be tough.
They started him on chemo, but told us that he probably wasn't going to make it, that he only had like an 8% chance to live 24 to 48 hours.
The chemo made the little boy very sick, nauseated, vomiting, barely able to walk or talk.
Good job.
His mother, Sierra, wanted to try anything to help and eventually found medical marijuana. Now again, Landon is just 3 years old. They'd come from Utah, where medical marijuana was not legal, to Colorado, where it was.
Okay, here.
And for Landon, it seemed to work. He rebounded, able to eat, sleep, just be a kid. But Sierra told us something else, something surprising. She believed that the marijuana was healing him, not just from the ravages of chemo, but from his cancer as well.
I think that chemo in combination with cannabis did put him into remission, and now cannabis will keep him there.
To be clear, ALL is one of the most curable cancers. More than 95% of children go into remission with existing therapies. But still, Sierra was so sure of marijuana's healing properties that 6 months after her son started the treatments, she decided to stop his chemotherapy altogether. Her argument, the chemo was too toxic, and the cannabis was not. She said the doctors were stunned at her decision.
The options were to either, voluntarily agree to the chemo and steroid plan for the next 3 years, or to refuse it, in which they would take us to court and have it court ordered anyways, and the possibility of them removing Landon from my care would come into play at that point.
How's it going, Landon?
So Riddle found a lawyer.
Wait a minute, let's stop for a second on that.
Yeah, so, which was total bullshit. Being involved in many of the childhood, cannabis cases, or at least being up on several of them, I know about this case, and it was bullshit. They said they wanted to discontinue the harmful radiation and steroid treatments that were making their child sick, and then the doctors said, well, if you refuse, then we're going to take you to court, and we're going to give him these bullshit drugs anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's like, really? Doctors have this power? Right. I don't think they should. That's so bullcrap to me.
Well, part of this is kind of like, that goes to like those faith healing cases.
Yes, I understand this much, but, this is scientifically proven. This is not faith healing, I think he'll get better. It will happen because the Lord wants it. You know, I mean, there is a lot of power in that, but you know, it's not accepted medical treatment.
Right.
Cannabis is.
Well, here's the problem is there's the science on the other side that says, hey, if we give them this chemo and these steroids, this is the percentage that survive, and it's a very high percentage. What did you say? It was like 95% that recover from this ALL. So it's a very high percentage that survive. So, you know, by not giving them this 95% chance at life, you're abusing the kid. That's their point. But, you know, your point is that, you know, we know that cannabis helps. The problem is we don't get the benefit of the doubt on this. We don't get the benefit of them believing our science. They only believe their own.
Exactly, because we don't have white papers, you know, that are written up in technical jargon that they can look at, or, well, that they're willing to look at.
Oh, we do. We have a lot of
I know.
info, but they won't look at it.
We do nowadays.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that, you know, for several decades it was taboo. It was something that was, you know, illegal, so they didn't want to risk their, you know, job and livelihood and family over, you know, recommending or even encouraging the use of something that could, you know, screw with them in the long run if it ever came back. And that's just cowardly.
Yeah. All right, let's check the rest of this out.
Didn't appear she was doing anything wrong other than just being a mom and trying to do what's in the best interest of her kid.
In an effort to avoid a court battle, Riddle, her mother Wendy, and Edson met with Landon's doctors and Child Protective Services.
They said they were willing to work with us. They said they were willing to alter the chemo plan, and they're not. They did not do that at all.
And that's not surprising. While many mainstream doctors do support the use of cannabis to offset the side effects of chemotherapy, as things stand now, no doctor would recommend cannabis instead of chemo, myself included. But there is a growing body of promising research. Dr. Julie Holland is the editor of the Pot Book.
It turns out it actually fights the cancer itself.
You're a doc, you've studied this, you've talked to the researchers. You're
Right.
saying marijuana can kill cancer cells.
I'm saying that, and there are many other researchers who are saying that too.
We've got lung samples from our treatment.
Yeah, this is so crazy and controversial that they've been saying it since 1974.
Yeah.
Since 1974, Sanjay. That's how. I mean, the thing about this, you know, Sanjay did his about face, and he came out and said, you know, he supports medical now, and he even apologized for his role in misleading people and said we've been misled in this country. Sanjay, look this shit up, buddy.
Yeah.
It goes back to We've been misled so hard
it's
that
so
we've
deep.
ignored research that goes back 40 years showing us that THC kills cancer cells.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Treated mice.
Like San Francisco researchers Pierre Desprez and Sean McAllister, who say they've seen firsthand what the cannabis compound cannabidiol, or CBD, can do. In their lab, they used CBD to kill mice and human cancer cells. We asked the American Cancer Society what they thought about all of this, and in a statement to CNN, they said, there is no available scientific evidence from controlled studies in humans that cannabinoids can cure or treat cancer.
And that's true. That is true, because they won't let us do the research.
They're not allowed to do the research.
But why would they have a section for cannabis in the use of treatment for cancer on their website?
On cancer.gov. Yeah, on cancer.gov, you can see
that is the American Cancer Society's website.
Is that .gov, though? No, I think well, whatever. But on cancer.gov, you can see the write-up on, you know, the many doctors, and we covered the controversy on this, on their write-up on the use of cannabis in the treatment of cancer. Now, the American Cancer Society has just taken a cop-out, though, by saying there's no available scientific evidence. Right, because it's not been allowed to happen. It's not been allowed to happen.
DEA will not allow it.
Yeah, they haven't been allowed to do it because, DEA, FDA, all that crap.
Right. And I don't know what question exactly CNN and Sanjay asked the American Cancer Society, but in the context of this report, it sounds to me like they said, hey, here's all this evidence and all these reports of THC killing cancer cells. What do you think of that? And they deflect to saying there's no human things. All right.
No human trial. Yeah.
Even Landon's doctor, who prescribed his marijuana and is a firm believer in medical cannabis, is cautious about this.
Sierra has decided to stop the chemotherapy for Landon. I mean, as a doctor, and as a doctor who's seen his progress, is that something you would be on board with, that you recommend?
As a physician, again, I'm not sure that I could recommend that to a parent, to say,
You know, I can't say to them, I know that the CBD is a treatment that can work and you don't need the chemotherapy.
For the time being, Sierra Riddle is afraid of losing her son, so she is allowing chemotherapy once a month. She's also still trying to find an oncologist willing to take Landon off the chemo. So far, she's had no luck.
Faster.
But Sierra and her mother aren't giving up.
I want Landon to know that we did everything in our power to be compassionate in his care and to protect him. I want him to know that we were willing to go to bat. He's a 3-year-old child.
We did reach out to Children's Hospital a number of times, and so far they've declined to discuss Landon's care. And meanwhile, Riddle says she and his doctors they're still at odds over his treatment, but they point out it's been 9 months since he's had significant chemotherapy treatments, and he remains cancer-free.
Well, imagine that.
Yeah, which means he's on, you know, what is that, long-term treatment?
Yeah.
Maintenance.
Maintenance treatment, right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've heard a lot of people treating chemo-induced nausea with marijuana. That's not what we're talking about, right? I mean, these people are saying that pot actually cured cancer.
We'll bring more of that back to you after we take a break. We got to take a break, and when we come back, we've got Sanjay speaking directly with Anderson Cooper. We'll see how that turns out after these messages. You're listening to 420 Radio.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
This is Radical Russ encouraging you to take a look at the Weed Blog every day. Johnny Green and the staff at the Weed Blog are on top of all the latest developments in the fight to end marijuana prohibition nationwide. You can even get the Weed Blog on your smartphone by installing the Weed Blog app for iPhone and Android. If it's about weed, it's on the Weed Blog, including my original writing. So don't delay. Read the Weed Blog today.
The Russ Belville Show brings you the best in daily Toker tunes every weekday. Each day features a different genre, including Roots Monday,
Folks, here's a story about Minnie the Moocher.
Electric Tuesday, Irie Wednesday,
Summer ganja planter, call me the ganja farmer.
Groovin' Thursday,
Do you wanna get high?
and Rockin' Friday.
Like to hit the ball.
Then on weekends, we mix them all together in our weekend music party.
New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. We believe it's time for a new approach on marijuana, and that Oregonians deserve a chance to decide in the 2014 general election. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. By implementing a strict system to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana, we can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Under our approach for 2014, 40% of funds would support K-12 education, 20% would support mental health and treatment services, and 15% would be dedicated to law enforcement. Public opinion, coupled with victories in Washington and Colorado, confirms marijuana legalization is inevitable. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you. 54 after the hour, we're back here at 420 Radio, and we got to move quickly if we're going to get this response in. So let's turn things over now to CNN's Anderson Cooper and his discussion with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Have a
ravages of the chemotherapy. But then,
I mean, I've heard a lot of people treating chemo-induced nausea with marijuana. That's not what we're talking about, right? I mean, these people are saying that pot actually cured cancer.
In this little boy's case, that's how it started, was this idea that medical marijuana could be used to help alleviate some of the ravages of the chemotherapy. But then that's where Sierra, his mother and the lawyer took it a step further, saying they believe it can actually treat the cancer itself, and they should forego chemo for this cannabis. Now, nobody agrees with them. I think most doctors, myself included, don't think that that's the right idea, because there is good treatments that exist. But you're right. That is where a lot of this research is headed. Could cannabis actually treat the cancer?
The American Cancer Society, though, says there's no evidence of this at all.
Yeah, they want the evidence. They want the actual clinical trials where you look at patients who have cannabis treatments and those who don't and compare them. Those types of trials don't exist. And again, with ALL, this particular type of cancer, the treatments, Anderson, 95% of the kids go into remission. So you wouldn't probably treat something against a gold standard therapy like what already exists.
And in your documentary, Weed, cannabis was used to treat epilepsy. Is there more of a scientific consensus behind that?
Around the world, in many countries, there's pretty good consensus. There's studies that have looked at this, and the idea of using cannabis to treat epilepsy, that idea has been around for a long time. I will share with you, Anderson, in the United States now, within the next few weeks, a clinical trial is going to start in this country using essentially a marijuana plant extract to treat the type of epilepsy like you saw in our documentary. So that's going to be a first in this country. And remember, part of the difficulty is that we still think of cannabis, marijuana in this country, as a Schedule I substance, meaning that it's highly addictive and has no medicinal applications. So to test something medicinally, that's an important step here.
Right.
There you go, Sanjay Gupta, and not pointing out the fact that they won't let the studies happen. Yeah. But I'm going to take you real quick before we end the show here to cancer.gov, just because I've mentioned it a couple times. It's the National Cancer Institute, and you can find all sorts of information on cannabis and cannabinoids here. And I'm just going to go cannabinoid in its little search thing here. And the PDQ, the physician's, what does that stand for? I forget. Physician's
Desk reference.
No, the PDQ stands for something. I forget what it's called, but it doesn't matter. But they've got overview on cannabis, and there's a lot of information on it there. So when we look at the laboratory animal preclinical studies, this is where we have an entire section dedicated to, what's that say there? Anti-tumor effects. Yes, anti-tumor effects. Very, very interesting.
By cancer.
Yes. A study in mice and rats suggested that cannabinoids may have a protective effect against the development of certain types of tumors. During this 2-year study, groups of mice and rats were given various dosages of THC, a dose-related decrease in the incidence of hepatic adenoma tumors and hepatocellular carcinoma, that would be liver cancers, was observed in mice. Decreased incidences of benign tumors, polyps, and adenomas in other organs, including mammary glands, uterus, pituitary, testes, and pancreas, were also noticed in the rats. In another study, delta-9 THC, delta-8 THC, and cannabinol were found to inhibit the growth of Lewis lung adenocarcinoma cells in vitro and in vivo. That would be in petri dishes and in living mice and rats. In addition, other tumors have been shown to be sensitive to cannabinoid-induced growth inhibition. This is cancer.gov. This is the National Cancer Institute pointing out the anti-tumor effects that have already been discovered by medical science with respect to cancer. Colon cancer, breast cancer, lots of them in here, lung cancer. It goes on and on and on. And that's just the cancer stuff. That's anti-tumor. It's a larger number, it's a greater amount in this PDQ than appetite stimulation and analgesia, pain killing. But yeah, now we're just beginning to figure out that marijuana might kill cancer. Well, that's all the time I got here for Toker Talk Radio. Stay tuned. Jorge Cervantes is up next. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you